Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. We're about to get started. We're just a little bit after 7 o'clock. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Land Use Committee meeting. I'm Andrea Kelly. I'm the chair. This is very loud. With us within the chamber, members of the Land Use Committee, we have Tariq Lucas here from Ward 2. We have Randy Block from Ward 4. I'm from Ward 5. Online, we have Andrea Downs she's from Ward 5, sorry. Randy Block from Ward 4, Andrea Downs from Ward 5, Alan Lobovitz here in the chamber from Ward 6, and Stephen Farrell from Ward 8, and Allison Leary from Ward 1. As other councilors join us, I'll introduce them and welcome them, both Land Use Committee members and others. From the city staff, we have several people from the planning department, as well as our clerk, Katie Holden, who's sitting here with us. Online from planning, we have Sandria Berman, Kat Kemet, Katie Wewell, and from the law department, Jonah Temple is here. And we also have been joined by President Mark Laredo, who's from Ward 7. So we have a full council tonight. Are you going to stay for this meeting? We are being joined now by Pam Wright also. And Councilor-elect Jacob Silverin from Ward 8 is here in the chamber too. Our first item tonight is number 304-25, which is a request to allow ground floor residential use, 4 stories to exceed height and associated parking waivers at 1100-1102 Beacon Street. Are people here from that petition to speak, or anyone in the chamber or online, or we'll hear from planning first? If not, let's go to planning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bear with me just as I go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay. Remind me as I clear this out. Okay. So we'll begin. And yes, so this is coming back to us from the October 21st, 2025 Land Use Committee meeting. And the relief has remained the same. This is a special permit site plan approval to construct a 4-unit residential dwelling at 1100-1102 Beacon Street, very close to the Four Corners intersection. Again, just to orient us, we have the property right here along Beacon Street. This is the Four Corners intersection. And the subject property itself is located in a Business 2 district. And it is currently improved with a 2-story commercial building that was constructed in 1945, although from Beacon Street, it does appear as a 1-story. But the topography of the lot dips down, with giving it a 2nd story in the rear. The surrounding neighborhood includes BU1 districts, BU1 and 2 districts, as well as an MR1 and 3 district. And the properties in these districts are variable in height and size and consists of mixed residential and commercial uses. And direct abutting properties consist of 2- and 3-story businesses and residential uses, including multi-unit condominiums to the north and west and commercial uses to the north, east, and west. The zoning relief, again, has remained the same. It's relief for residential use at the ground floor and above, dimensional relief pertaining to the height and number of stories, and a waiver for the number of required parking stalls within the BU2 district. There have been some project updates, although not too many to the site plan. We have just on the site plan itself, the applicant has added detailed locations for trash and recycling within the storage area adjacent to the carports. And they've also dimensioned the overhangs, which are no greater than 2 feet into the setback. For the architectural plans, however, from the last land use meeting, they responded to some of the councilors' comments wanting to improve the facade facing Beacon Street. And so you'll note a number of design changes to the windows along that front facade, an addition of a Juliet balcony and roof overhang of that front, that balcony itself, an addition of a gable roof over the entrance of Unit A, which again faces Beacon Street, as well as some changes to the roof slope on Beacon Street from a 10-12 ratio to a 12-12 slope, modifications again to the corner windows that face Beacon Street, as well as some other modifications to the windows along the east elevation as well, and the changes to some of the roof entryways for each unit as well. The petitioner has also provided a turning radius plan to show entry and egress to the site and to each of the carports. And finally, they've also provided an environmental assessment for groundwater sampling and analysis that did not recommend further assessment or action, but advocated for ongoing monitoring of the wells that were on site, given the proximity to the gas station adjacent. And again, criteria to consider when reviewing this proposal: that the specific site is an appropriate location for the proposed 4-unit building as designed. The proposed 4-unit building as developed and operated will not adversely affect the neighborhood, that there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, and that access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. And finally, that literal compliance with the parking requirements under the ordinance is impracticable due to the nature of the use or the location, size, depth, width, shape, or grade of the lot, or that such exceptions would be in the public interest or in the interest of safety or the protection of environmental features. Just some comments again from planning: that the proposed use is an appropriate use for the site and neighborhood, which includes a variety of districts, building sizes, and uses within the Four Corners neighborhood. The proposed 4-unit residential use will not adversely affect the neighborhood or create a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, as the project meets the dimensional setbacks of the lot while creating additional housing that is close to public transit and other amenities. The proposed project does comply with lot area per unit with 1,333 square feet per unit, where 1,200 square feet is required. The plan also notes that pervious materials will be proposed for the driveway and walkway on the site plan, and that the requested relief to allow 3 stories and up to 36 feet in height will be in conformance with abutting properties. And finally, that the Four Corners location does provide nearby access to public transportation, amenities, and multimodal transportation infrastructure, making it a preferred location for multi-unit residential development per the city's comprehensive plan. And that concludes the planning presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Berman. Mr. Callahan, I see you're here. Are you the one who would like to present on behalf of the petitioner, or is somebody else doing that for your team?
John Downey is going to present for our team, the architect.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is John Downey. I'm the architect for this project. And if I can, I will go ahead and share my screen.
Yes, sir.
That is. Excuse me. I'm still fighting a cold. Pardon me, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Again, my name is John Downey, and this is our project for 1102 Beacon Street. I'm going to quickly, we've already seen the site in the planning presentation, so I'm not going to go over that again. Also, I'll go over this quickly. These are the floor plans for the existing building and, oops, sorry, and the elevations for the existing building. As the planning department talked about, the building looks like a 1-story building at the front.
Hey, Mr.
Beacon
Downey,
Street side?
I'm just going to
Yes.
stop you for 1 second. We can hear you well, but could you enlarge what you're showing on this screen? And
Sorry,
actually,
is that better?
that is better. And
Okay,
that
great.
you're going to come back to that site plan showing the parking spots and the turning radii that you just skipped over. You're going to come back to that?
Yes.
Great. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
In fact, this is the site plan. The only real changes to this are we added the trash and recycling bins at the back doors next to the carports. We also extended the driveway a little bit because of access for turning radius as recommended by our civil engineer. And I think that's really all the changes. Yes, that's all the changes to the site plan.
Okay, we had asked that that be dimensioned so we could see how wide that driveway and driveway aisle is in terms of being able to back up. Is that a dimension of that?
Yeah, that it's 15 feet at the front. I thought that what was asked for was at the curb cut. So I dimensioned the 15-foot there.
We were looking to see how wide the driveway width, basically like the aisle width was also, but it's more than 15 feet.
It's more than 15 feet,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
In fact, this line right here is the setback line that is over 18, it's 18 feet from the property line. So you can see where an 18-foot line runs through the driveways.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. The second floor, it's a 3-story building. Each unit is 3 stories. So that's the second floor. There's a 3rd floor. And then we also have roof decks at the roof level. This is the new elevation that we're showing for especially the north side, which was subject of discussion at the last meeting. We've done a number of things to this. We've grouped the windows at the left side so that they're a little bit larger and also in a grouping. We added the Juliet balcony with a small cover over it. We added some windows, and then we also included this gable roof extension for the entry to building or to Unit A. And we also have looked at another option, which is basically the same, but with a different roof extension over Unit A's entry. On the west side, there's really not many changes. The entry roof slope has changed, and that's really about it. Oh, and then the roofs over the unit entries will be consistent with the gabled roof that goes over Unit A's entry. And on the east side, we've made it clear that where the door is to the back door to the unit, this is where the carports are next to those doors. Again, the slope has changed, and that's really about it. Oh, and then the corner windows at Unit A have slightly changed. I thought it would be useful for us to look at the Beacon Street elevation or facade that we had presented last time, which is on the left, and then our new one on the right. Again, the slope is slightly different. Instead of a window, we have a Juliet balcony, doubled up on the windows in the kitchen, and added a window in the bathroom. And this is the landscape plan, which is unchanged from last time. All right, and we made the changes to the renderings, and we also lightened the color of the building at the top half or the top 2/3 of the building, leaving the little bit darker facade at the base. The site plan, I believe, is pretty much unchanged, other than we're showing the trash and recycling at the back of the building. This is unchanged. We have underground rainwater distribution devices. The details mostly unchanged. And then we did add this one sheet that includes the turning radiuses for each of the units. And it shows that the turning radiuses work for each unit. And that's all the changes that we've made. Certainly happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Stick around and there may be some questions for you. So that's the end of your presentation then?
It is, yes.
Great, thank you very much. Any members of the public want to speak to this, either in the chamber or on Zoom? I don't see any hands. If you change your mind, either come to the microphone or raise your hand and we'll call on you. Let's take it into the committee. Members of the committee, any questions or comments over the changes from last time, President Laredo?
So I want to ask the planning department, if this was zoned residential rather than commercial, and any of the residential zones, what could be built here?
In terms of any project, if it had a different zone entirely,
Well, I mean, this is a residential project, no mixed use,
Mhm.
happens to be in an existing commercial zone. We are being asked to, in an existing commercial zone, you have minimal setbacks, you have minimal other requirements. I'm trying to understand, as I think about this, what could be built here if this was zoned residential, because obviously it is being built as residential.
Yeah, I can jump in. If this were a single residence zone, obviously single families would be allowed with their corresponding setbacks. I think what is maybe more comparable is if this were a multi-residential zone, and
Yep.
that would allow up to two unit dwellings. However, as the committee knows, there is an allowance by special permit for single family attached. And that is, something the committee sees a lot. The required setbacks are 25 feet all around. However, all of the dimensional standards with single family attached in a multi-residence zone can be waived or reduced by special permit. So I think that's more comparable. As you know, the business zones are a bit more generous, but I think, this project is kind of maintaining adequate setbacks. I think the rear is pretty close, but that's sort of my take on it.
So Ms. Wewell, this could be, multifamily zone would make sense to me, given location and otherwise. I mean, would it be a 3-unit project, a 4-unit project, 2-unit project? Roughly, I'm not holding you to it. I'm trying to get a sense of this.
Yeah, a multifamily dwelling that is not considered single family attached, or the most traditional, townhouse style that you're seeing with that building type and this proposed building type. A multifamily dwelling is only allowed in multi-residence 2, 3, and 4. And I don't believe those standards are as flexible as the single family attached building type.
Okay. I appreciate it, as I'm just trying to think this through. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, President Laredo. Councilor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. Look, after listening to the petitioner's presentation and looking at the surrounding area, I just want to ask the committee and city staff if it would be appropriate for this particular development to, and this is really minor, I know, to have the trash and recycling bins on site. It's not a make or break, but as I look around the area, follow me, we have a nail salon next door. You have that 36-unit condo building. You have a bank. Then you have across the street, Beacon Street, you have another condo building, Walgreens, that I think it's Domino's Pizza Plaza on Walnut Street. You have an office building and Whole Foods and a gas station and some more commercial properties on Walnut Street. And this would be the only one that would have the trash barrels there. So I just want everyone to think of that. Again, it's not an end all be all, but just in terms of what the surrounding areas are, they're all commercial. None of them have their own recycling and trash barrels, the green and blue ones. That's minor, I know. But my objections to this special permit have remained the same since we first opened this public hearing. This is a small village center, an unofficial village center, not one of the 13 village centers, but maybe it's the 14th or 15th perhaps. This is an ideal location for mixed use development. I mean, it's next to a gas station. This to me, this is an easy one. This is ideal for mixed use. It's in a commercial zone. It's surrounded by, you know, mostly commercial enterprises. I know we have that 36-unit condo building next door, or 2 doors down. But this is an ideal location for mixed use. And I don't know why we're giving up our commercial lots, our business use lots, and put all housing there. I have nothing against the housing. Nothing against the housing. I don't think it's going to adversely impact the neighborhood. Again, same thing with traffic. It's a non-issue. But it's next to a gas station. We're in a village center. We want mixed use. We want ground floor commercial use and housing above. And I don't know why we're not doing that. So, I mean, if there is a motion tonight to approve, I will oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. Councillor Leary.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to say I do like the improvements, the visual improvements to the building. It's much more appealing streetscape, and I appreciate those efforts being made. Speaking regarding a fully residential building in a commercial district, I think it's really on us, the city council, in terms of, I mean, this property has been vacant for how many years? Is it 2 or 3? That's a question. It's
Mr.
been
Callahan?
vacant, and there've been other attempts to develop it.
Mr. Callahan, would you like to answer that question? Can you unmute Mr. Callahan?
You're muted.
Okay. You can unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I mean, the property's been vacant for at least 4 years. We got involved over 4 years ago to try to develop the property, and we looked at mixed use, and we did several designs. We couldn't make it pencil out with parking for both commercial and residential use on such a small, 5,000 square foot lot. So we did try. That was our first go around.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. That's my understanding. So the city's had 4 years to look at this space. And I just think we need to be much more proactive if we want to protect our commercial properties. I think part of that is we have to figure out ways of making it easier to develop, including parking waivers, which I know is in ZAP right now. But what's before us right now is 4 units, condominiums, smaller units. And I really, I can't see a way where I wouldn't support this because we do need housing, and that's another important component of it. I think the developer is trying to make the best of a very awkward site. And while there is a lot of commercial next to it, there's also a lot of residential, including right across the street. There's a lot of condos. It's walking distance from a park, a lovely park, Cold Spring Park. It's walking distance, very easy walking distance to a pharmacy and to Whole Foods and not a bad walk to Newton Highlands or Newton Center. So it actually is a very good location for residential. So those are my comments on that. And I saw that they're using pervious materials on the parking area. That's correct, correct? The parking lots will be pervious?
Mr. Downey?
Yes, that's correct.
And so that means that they need to be maintained as well, I understand. Would that be part of I assume this would be a condo association where they'd manage these kinds of things?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I just had one question that just because I'm not familiar with it, but you have, it says each unit will have an individual sewer ejector pump station that pumps wastewater to the uphill sewer manhole that will eventually connect to the city sewer main. Now,
Correct.
Is that something that the individual condo owners would have to maintain and be part of the condo association requirements?
I don't know that I can answer that right now. That sounds reasonable to me, but we haven't discussed it in that kind of detail yet.
Okay, I was just wondering because I hadn't really seen that before in a project, and it just might be because I just haven't seen it. But I just wanted to know because it sounds like another thing that could break that would be part of the condo responsibility.
Mr.
Correct.
Porter, is Mr. Porter's hand raised in order to address that question?
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
is
Go ahead,
Joseph
Mr. Porter.
Porter from VTP Associates. I'm the civil engineer. These units they're called an E1 unit. They're a single house ejector unit, and they're servicing each unit. And I would believe the unit would be responsible for each one of their own sewer ejector. You wouldn't want a different unit being responsible for another person's failure to comply with the requirements of what would be like dumping wipes into the wastewater. So each unit would be responsible for their own system. The common manhole would be a condominium requirement, but up to that point would be each unit's obligation.
Okay, thank you. That's sort of a new requirement.
Well, we've done this. We did this on the Warren Street, 145 Warren Street was a similar project where the units were down gradient, and we did individual ejectors on that project also.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that explanation. I appreciate it. And just on my colleague, Councilor Lucas' comment, I actually would prefer them to be on the city system with the carts. I don't like to see, I think we have more control over that. And I'm certainly, this is something that I could approve. I think it's given the limiting factors, I don't think we should be holding this up because we're frustrated with the fact that we're not getting enough commercial development. And I think that's on the city to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leary. Councilor Labovitz.
Yeah, I'd like to second the remarks of Councilor Lucas in terms of favoring mixed use. It's a thriving commercial area, as we know. I took a walk around it, and I don't think there's any vacant commercial spaces. So I think in this case, commercial ventures are viable, certainly viable, more than viable. And I just think we're trying to squeeze in residential property onto, sort of into a shoebox here. We're making too many exceptions for parking, for the height, for eliminating the requirement for commercial use. I just think we just approved I think it's over 1,500 residential property units. I don't think this city needs to be that concerned that we won't have a couple of other apartments or condos in an area that I don't think it wasn't zoned for it. And as I said, the commercial kind of venture is certainly very viable in that area. So I am going to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lobovitz. Are there any other land use committee members who'd like to speak before there are a couple of hands up from other councillors. Councillor Downs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't going to speak, but I fully second Councillor Leary's comments. I really think that, that you have to trust the numbers. Yeah, this is so far does not have any vacancies. This is one way to keep it that way and make it a more walkable neighborhood with more customers nearby. And it could be a lovely neighborhood as opposed to a very car-oriented neighborhood, which is what it is now. There's plenty of opportunity for people to use transit. The 59 bus runs right down there, so the T is in easy walking distance. It's a great starter place for young families, and I will be voting for it.
Thank you, Councillor Downs. Councillor Block.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting against this proposal. I agree with Councillor Lobovitz and Councillor Lucas and what they've said. I can't emphasize enough the awkwardness of the limited parking that will be available. I believe at our last meeting, when the petitioner was asked, or maybe was planning, I think was the petitioner was asked where guests would park on the street somewhere. Parking's not allowed on Beacon Street, so I think we're creating more problems than we're solving with this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Block. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be very quick. I don't have the same confidence that this space will be used by itself as commercial property. But more importantly, as previous speakers have said, I think there are too many units, too few parking spaces. We've already heard a resounding call in this city to look at and fix the parking situation. I think 1 car per unit is too few. I don't think there's any place for guest parking. And I just think it's too many housing units with too little space on this property, but I'm conflicted. I also don't think it's all by itself is going to be used for commercial space, but I too am not in favor of this project.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. We have some other councillors who would like to speak. First will be Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a commercial lot. It's a small lot. And so I understand it's difficult, but they want to build all residential. And I feel if you want to build all residential, you should do residential dimensional controls. The rear setback on this is less than a foot. The FAR is 1.5, which is typically 0.5, so it's 3 times more. I would rather see it mixed use or stay commercial, but I understand being such a small lot. But if we get rid of our commercial, 1 lot at a time, it's not going to be a mini village center. It's just going to be a residential neighborhood. So even something small out in the front of it would be nice. But if you're going to build all residential, I'd like to see residential dimensional controls. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Oliver, thank you for your patience.
Oh, absolutely no problem. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to second what I just heard from Councillor Wright. As a matter of fact, we've actually docketed an item in ZAP that we simply haven't heard yet this term. that is exactly what she's describing, which is when a lot like this, i.e. commercial or BU in designation from a zoning perspective, is going to be used for 100% residential like this proposal is, that they are going to have to use residential controls. For that reason, and the fact that I would much prefer to see some sort of mixed use here, which I believe would actually do a better job accomplishing what I heard from Councillor Downs a few minutes ago, to create a much more walkable, even if we want to consider this a village center light, in order to be a walkable village center of any designation, there got to be places to walk to. So for that, from that perspective, when this hits full council, if the project as proposed comes to city council, I won't be able to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I'm just going to say a few words, and then I would like to ask the development team to think about their next step. First of all, I would like to say that you folks did address many, if not all of the issues, at least the easier ones to address, like you did detail the facade, you gave it more character, you gave us, you located the trash in places we wanted to know, you say the snow is going to be taken off site, you gave us turning radii for the parking. So thank you for addressing the issues that we brought to you before. I am more aligned with the thinking that Councillor Leary and Councillor Downs said. I think in this location, having these smaller units and with one parking, there's a lot you can get to from here. And when Councillor Leary listed all the places you could walk to, Mason Rice as a school that would serve a residential use is not very far either. So I think this would be fine. I'm concerned about the vacancies we've had in commercial and the difficulties we hear from so many developers who come before us recently saying that that's not a use they can get into their building. So I would be inclined to vote yes for that. However, it doesn't look to me like this will pass tonight. So there are at least 4 no votes that I've heard from the floor of the Land Use Committee. This would need 5 votes to pass. So I'm going to come back to whether that's Mr. Callahan or Mr. Downey or whoever is speaking for your team. Would you like us to proceed voting on this tonight? I'm going to hear from them first, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Leary. Somebody from the One Stop LLC team like to think about how you'd like to proceed right now? Mr. Callahan.
Yeah, I guess, Madam Chair, what are the options?
Well, one option is we vote for this tonight and it gets denied, which probably doesn't serve your purpose.
It's a recommendation to the full city council.
Correct.
So let's be clear, it could still pass in the city
Yeah, I
council.
was going to explain all of that, but within the committee, you usually are looking for a strong positive and a majority vote. That is not an absolute decision. As Councillor Leary points out, and I think you are aware, having been before us previously, that this goes to the full council for a total vote. We've heard from 4 members of this committee, as well as 2 other councillors who said when it comes to the full council, they wouldn't vote for it. So that's why I'm asking for you to think about it. Another option you would have would be to request to withdraw without prejudice, which means it won't be voted on this term. You would have some time to come back to us in January if you think there might be some changes you could make that would make this more palatable, perhaps addressing the first floor commercial. If you withdraw without prejudice, you can return to us. If it's denied at the full council, you can't come back, I believe, for 2 years. Is that correct, Mr. Temple?
That is correct.
So those are some choices that you have before you tonight.
Is there an option to address some of the concerns?
Right now, you mean?
Yeah, right now. I don't know that we'll be able to swing a vote, but perhaps we would if we were to address some of the concerns.
Well, why don't you tell us what you're thinking? We're very close to the end of the term and don't have many more opportunities to review and discuss this. So what are you thinking tonight that you would like to, you will be willing to change that would address some of what you heard this evening?
The commercial piece in particular and the mixed use, we have spent like 4 years looking at it and not being able to figure out how to make it work. And maybe John Downey here, you can jump in on some of the constraints with the parking to make this work, in addition to another constraints, in addition to it being it not penciling out financially.
The main issue that we found when we were looking at the project from a mixed use standpoint was parking. If you add the parking that's required for the commercial space, which is roughly say 4 to 5 spaces, depending on the size of the floor plate, then you also have to add into that the parking for the units. And if we stick with the two, even the one per unit would be either 3 or 4 more parking spaces. At that point, you're at the size of the site, roughly, maybe just a little bit less, but around between 4,500 and 5,000 square feet of just parking on a 5,000 square foot site. Based on that, we concluded that it really just wasn't possible on such a small site to have both commercial and residential.
I think we understood that, and that's why you're before us. I thought that Mr. Feltiera was saying there might be some changes you're willing to make right now for us to reconsider. This sounds to me like you're just explaining again why you're doing what you're doing without proposing any changes right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my question to the team then, whichever one of you is the spokesperson is, would you like us to vote on this tonight, or would you like to withdraw without prejudice and come back perhaps in January? And again, I can't.
I think
it's
it's okay to come back another time. We can look at it, and perhaps if we can get some sort of side committee that maybe has some ideas on how to make this work commercially, we'd welcome that. There's a few people that perhaps have a vision that they can help us flesh out, where we can work together. Would that be okay to take set up a Zoom or something and take half an hour with 2 or 3 members?
It's not normally the responsibility of the city council to help a petitioner figure out how to move forward, especially if it's about how to get more commercial in there. So I couldn't commit anyone from the city council to doing that. Feel free to speak up if you're willing to talk with him later. To me, it feels a little off target. Councilor Leary, what was it that you wanted to say before we try and close this out for the night?
Well, one of the things I wanted to just clarify with Mr. Temple was if they decide to withdraw without prejudice, if they came back, if we're keeping the project the same, but if they come back with a substantially different project, including something with commercial on the first floor, they could come back much earlier than that. So I just wanted to be clear that was an option. And I understand the constraint that this team is in right now, although it's likely the city would, we're moving in the direction of waiving parking in commercial centers, in business centers. That is true. But there is a chance that if it doesn't pass this committee, it would go, that means the land use committee didn't recommend it, but it would still go to the full city council, and you could take your chances there with it getting passed. knowing that you would have to come back with a substantially different project anyway. So I don't think that 2-year thing is really that relevant here.
Mr. Temple, did you want to offer anything on this?
Yeah, I'll just say that a withdrawal without prejudice allows them to come back whenever they want with whatever project. It could be the same project, it could be a different project. If the withdrawal is with prejudice or if there is a denial, then it'll have to be a different project if they want to come back in the next 2 years. The only other thing I'll throw out there, Chair, is that if the development team is a little uncomfortable making a decision on the spot tonight, the committee could hold this until its last meeting on the 9th, and then they could come back either with a decision that night for a vote, a request for a vote, or a request to withdraw.
That's true, though you've seen our agendas for the next 2 meetings, and it would be hard to imagine being able to have much of a discussion about this at one of those meetings. But anyway, you're right. Thank you. There are those options on the table. Okay, we're going to try and wrap this up tonight. Councilor Labovitz, were you going to say something? No, you're just reaching for the microphone. I thought you were going to speak.
Are we considering closing the public hearing at this point or no?
I'd like to hear how they would like to proceed, but I
Okay.
think that that is an appropriate thing to do. Mr.
Yeah, let's punt this to a future meeting, whether as Mr. Temple was saying, for December or January, or the
It would
other
have to be
alternative.
December. We can't continue it into January. It would have to be in December. But that
Okay.
is an option too. We can hold it tonight. We can keep the public hearing open. We can hold it and fit it into one of our next 2 meetings and give you
Okay,
another time.
yeah, I think that sounds like a good option.
Okay. Okay. President Laredo, were you going to speak?
Oh, it's not my ward. I'll let,
Right. Well, I thought you wanted to add comment.
was just gonna
Councilor
add-
Labovitz, perhaps,
go ahead.
would you like to make a motion to hold and then we can keep the public hearing open?
Yes, I move to hold. Thank you. And keep the public hearing open. Thank
I
you.
think so. Let's vote on that. I think we can do a voice vote on that. Do you think so, Katie? All in favor of keeping the public hearing open and holding this item for another meeting in December, please say aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed to that? Okay. See you in a few weeks.
Thank you and happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, the next item is 339-25, which is a request to exceed FAR at 12 Garden Road. Planning. Ms. Wewell, is this one you? I think?
Yes, that is me. I will pull up my screen with a presentation. So this is petition 339-25. No, I'm sorry, this description isn't right. I will fix that. This is a special permit to construct a detached garage and enclose a portion of the existing dwelling, which results in a petition to exceed the maximum FAR. They are not raising the existing home. This site is located in a single residence 2 zoning district. The neighborhood is largely made up of residential uses and also within the single residence 2 zone. You'll see here that the lots are somewhat uniform in the block that the subject parcels on, and they also have detached accessory structures. However, there are a few larger lots in the neighborhood. So the zoning relief is to exceed the FAR. The petitioner seeks to construct a 483 square foot detached garage and enclose a small portion of the existing dwelling, which is about 16 square feet. The project adds approximately 392 square feet above what is allowed by right, further increasing the FAR from 0.38 to 0.43, and 0.39 is the maximum allowed as of right. When reviewing this request, the council should consider whether this is an appropriate site in the location for the detached garage that exceeds the floor area ratio, whether it will not adversely affect the neighborhood, whether there will be nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians created by this project, whether access to the site is appropriate for types and the numbers of vehicles involved, whether the proposed FAR is the maximum allowed, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. So in looking at this petition, planning's review just consists that the proposed garage exceeds the required setbacks for detached garages. It's set back 9 feet from the eastern property line and 8 feet from the southern property line, where 5 feet is required. The additional massing of FAR is broken up between 2 buildings, the principal dwelling and the detached garage. The 2 homes immediately to the west are similar in scale, and they also have detached garages. Properties to the east that front Hyde Avenue are sited on larger lots and feature larger homes also with accessory buildings. And I just wanted to note that the lot size is non-conforming, which plays a role in the FAR calculation. So it is slightly undersized than what's required. So that concludes the planning presentation. We are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wewell. Are you here on behalf of the petitioner, or are you the petitioner? Okay. Give us just your name and address and follow up with whatever you'd like to present. We're going to make sure the microphone is on for you.
There we go. Okay, thank you. My name is Frank DeMella. I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife, Nancy, who is sitting next to me. They are proposing to build a garage, which we should have done years ago, but postponed it. Our current driveway is, as you can see, as you've seen on the site plan, and I'm not quite sure how to get my computer to show up on the screen. Maybe somebody can tell me how to do that. But in our site plan, you can see that the existing driveway is pinched against the house, and it's not usable because our neighbor has built a fence along the property line along the house.
Mr. DeMella, can I interrupt you for just a second? Usually we have petitioners join the Zoom and then they can share their screen.
Katie, this is Katie from planning.
perfect.
I'm happy to share on his behalf.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Wewell. Okay, now we can see the plan.
So if you can blow that up. So you see on the left side of the drawing, the dotted area, that is the existing driveway. The fence that I mentioned runs along the property line for the length of the house, so that the portion of driveway against the house is virtually unusable. You can't get out of the car if you pull up. So we need to solve that problem. Plus, we'd like to have a garage. As we gotten older, we realized we'd like to have a garage so we don't have to shovel snow off of our car. We place a garage in excess of these setbacks in order to get as far away as possible from vegetation on our neighboring property. There's a big tree to our south that is very precious to us and to our neighbor, and we're trying to hold the garage back to stay away from it. We've also reduced the depth of the garage to a minimum so that helps to keep the back of the garage 8 feet from the property line. We have submitted architectural drawings. I don't know if you can flip to those in your. So the garage is essentially designed to match the house in materials and details, and is kept as small as possible. So the other part of the special permit request is to fill in, if you look in the upper left-hand corner of that that slide, that covered porch, to fill that in and close that space in, because the foundation of the house actually passes at the perimeter of that porch, and we get cold air into the house because of it. So we want to close that in and move the back door out to be flush with the back wall. If you can zoom back out. Yeah, the renderings show that area closed in plus a roof extension so that we have some protection over the back door. Those are just elevations of the same. Okay, any questions?
Okay, all set on your end then?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak about this? I don't see any, so we'll take it into committee. Councilor Laredo.
So it's my ward, it's Ward 7. I think this is a great project. I want you to succeed. I don't want to waste a lot of, unless colleagues have issues here, please get your garage built and your porch taken care of. I'm going to move to close the public hearing and move approval.
Thank you. We have another hand up before we vote on that. Councilor Farrell.
Just very quickly, we visited with the homeowner yesterday and had a most delightful conversation. We were very impressed not only with the intention of putting in the garage, but also the deep concern that they have not only for their vegetation, but for vegetation of their neighbors. And my sense is that we heartily approve this project.
By we, you mean the royal we? Oh. Okay, well, they can speak for themselves and vote, I'm sure, but thank you. Councilor Leary.
I'll just add my 2 cents. This is a lovely project, and good luck with it. I fully support it.
Anyone else? I do too. It's nice to have something so clear and, simple and well done. So thank you for that too. All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we also have a motion to approve. So let's see about what the findings and conditions are.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So we have the findings that we reviewed earlier this evening. We pointed to that the proposed garage exceeds the required setbacks and the additional massing is divided up between the principal dwelling as well as the proposed garage. It's pretty straightforward for those findings and that rationale. Also, just looking to the neighborhood consists of similarly sized dwellings on similarly sized lots. So the project is keeping within the context of the neighborhood. Other homes in the neighborhood are similar in scale and also feature detached garages. And then we just have our standard conditions, the plan referencing, as well as the standard building permit condition and standard occupancy permit. So it's a pretty straightforward special permit here.
Thank you, Ms. Wewell. We're ready to vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
8-0, motion passes.
Good luck. Maybe you won't have to shovel this winter. Okay, the next item is number 340-25, which is a request to allow an oversight.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too. A request to allow an oversized dormer, a dormer with an uninterrupted wall plane to exceed FAR at 15 Clinton Place. Ms. Berman from Planning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. Again, Sandria Berman from the City of Newton Planning Department. Got 15 Clinton. Apologies for the delay. Okay. All right. So again, this is petition 340-25, a special permit site plan approval at 15 Clinton Place. As Madam Chair spoke, to allow street 3 stories, to allow dormers with an uninterrupted wall plane, to allow a dormer exceeding 50% of the wall plane below, and to exceed FAR. Here from the aerial map, you'll note that the subject property is located in a single residence 2 district right off of Mill Street to the north, close to Newton Center, and it's improved with a 2-story single-family dwelling that was constructed in 1941, consisting of approximately 2,492 square feet. Abutting properties within the single residence 2 district consist of residential uses of similar lot sizes with single and 2-family residences surrounding. The zoning relief requested again to allow 3 stories, to allow a dormer with an uninterrupted wall plane, to allow dormers exceeding 50% of the wall plane mix below, and to exceed FAR. When reviewing this request, the council should consider if the specific site is an appropriate location for the proposed 3rd-story addition and the proposed dormers as designed, that the proposed 3rd-story addition and dormers developed and operated will not adversely affect the neighborhood, that there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, that access over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, and finally, that the proposed FAR of 0.45, where 0.43 is the maximum allowed as of right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. Some comments from the planning department. Planning notes that this is an appropriate location for the addition of a 3rd story, as the massing of the 3rd story is primarily visible at the rear of the home. The dwelling includes variable roof line heights to break up the overall massing of the dwelling and the highest roof peak. The proposed construction to exceed FAR by 0.02, with a proposed FAR of 0.45, where 0.43 is the maximum allowed as of right, is contained within the existing footprint of the home and will not reduce existing setbacks or adversely affect pedestrian or vehicular access to the site. And finally, the petitioner has secured the requisite approval from the Newton Historic Commission for the proposed addition. That concludes the planning presentation. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to the council.
Thank you, Ms. Berman. Is the applicant or the petitioner here or on Zoom who would like to talk about this project? For instance, Daniel Leffler. Rick Ames, are you?
I'm the one.
You're the one. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Rick Ames, Next Phase Studios Architects, working with Daniel Nia, the homeowners. If I could share my screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, Madam Chairman. Thanks, everyone, Chairperson. You've seen the presentation by planning, which I think is great. I'll try to keep this quite brief. The facade, it really is from the street, a 1.5 story. It's a 2-story in the rear. It's a pretty modest home for the neighborhood, that's for sure. I'll walk through existing drawings quite quickly. The site plan, which we are really not changing, including the deck, is sort of a non-conforming lot, which is probably the primary reason we're here. Other than the 3rd floor, we'll go through it quickly. No changes to the basement. The 1st floor, we are doing some reconfiguring, but there's 3 bedrooms, primary bedroom upstairs, 2 baths. sort of, you can see it's been added on and added on a little bit to get to where we are now. And that's you can see the rear massing is sort of where all of the changes have happened, and the front is pretty much original. The
Could you use your-
proposed work is to change it quite significantly to bring it into the 21st century, as we were discussing. It is not changing the footprint, as you can see. They've been through it they've been in the neighborhood quite a while. They have letters of support, I believe, from this neighbor, and one of these two. What we're doing really is opening up the house has 7, 8 floors ceiling height on the first floor. We're opening up a place that allows it to be 2 stories and sort of orienting the living area around that. We're then increasing the upstairs. Again, there's sort of the rooms working around it. We're adding 2 bedrooms and a playroom up on the top floor by extending the front staircase up, sort of a light well that follows it up, and you'll see that in the elevations. Roof plan. This is the street elevation. This is the rear elevation. This is the existing piece. Actually, the Historic Commission was quite supportive of the new elevations. They want us to add this to make it more compatible with the 2 other elevations. This is the continuous dormer wall, and this is a continuous dormer wall that is asking for the relief. And the FAR we're adding 740 square feet, so we are exceeding that as noted. We're going up to 4.5 instead of the full at 4.3. And this is pretty much the proposal for the family. The kids are going into high school. They're pretty excited to just stay here. That's it for us. I don't know if there's any other questions for us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ames. We have gotten some letters from neighbors about this. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak on this petition? Anyone in the chamber? No? Anyone on Zoom? I don't see any hands, so let's take it into committee. Who would like to take a first stab at a question or a comment? We're very quiet tonight. Councillor Lucas.
Yeah, I'll make some noise. Thank you, Mr. Ames. We did, as the chair said, received a couple of emails from some of your neighbors, so that's very good to hear. I just want to make sure you're not tearing. Oh, excuse me, hold on. I don't have this piece here. That's the problem. Yeah, I need to get one of those. Sorry. You're not tearing down the home. You're essentially raising the roof and building on top, essentially, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the footprint is the same. One of the things, and maybe this is for next term, because I've seen this a couple times, some of the relief that you're seeking is related to dormers, and I just don't know why that's there. Why you need to seek relief for that, but perhaps we can take that up next term, or ZAP can take that up next term. It says it's 3 stories. It's a misleading 3 stories. I like how you design the quote unquote 3rd story, and with the letters of support. So I think this is fine. So when the time comes, I'll close the public hearing and move for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. Councillor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also am in support of this project. When I was looking at my packet, I thought it was a lovely project, thoughtfully done. And I always like to see people, expand or develop their homes to make them more comfortable for family living. Exactly what you're doing here rather than a tear down. So I'm in full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leary. I am also in support, and I like to hear about how you're trying to adapt a home to keep the teenagers happy. Good, glad they're going to stay Newton neighbors. Any other comments from counselors? Counselor Farrell.
Quickly, Chair, and thank you very much again. Can't speak for my colleagues again like I tried to do last time. But we did visit the site. It seems a very appropriate site for this sort of expansion. It will be in keeping with other homes directly abutters. It is nothing excessive, and it looks like a really good idea to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Farrell. Counselor Lucas, did you want to make a motion?
Move to close the public hearing, move for approval.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed? And there is a motion to approve. So let's take a look at the conditions.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen, Madam Chair. And we have Jean Clinton. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
We have here the draft order, again, special permit for the relief mentioned earlier. These are the findings here that the specific site is an appropriate location for the addition of a third story and dormers, as the third story shed dormer faces the rear of the property and is conformance with the by right maximum height, that the addition of the third story and dormers as developed and operated won't adversely affect the neighborhood, as the third story will not be as readily visible from the front street side view, and it is compliant with the maximum allowable height. There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians with the proposed third story and dormers, as the construction is allocated to the third story level within the existing building footprint, and that access to over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, as there are no changes proposed that impact pedestrian and vehicular access. And finally, that the FAR of 0.45 is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, as the increase in FAR is contained within the existing footprint of the home. We have here the petitioner number and the petitioners stated above, the location, owners and address of owner. Here again, itemized is the special permit relief that we're granting. And finally, we have our standard plan referencing condition under item 1, our standard building permit condition under item 2, and finally, the standard final inspection and certificate of occupancy condition under item 3, which does include the FAR. So I'm happy to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to the council.
Thank you, Ms. Berman. Ready to vote on it, but I just wanted to note that this committee is not the architectural, or as Councillor Lucas referred to it today, the fashion police. But it does matter to us that the Historic Commission has looked this over and liked your plan, and they have the expertise to weigh in on things like that. So that mattered to me. Let's take a vote on this.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
Aye.
Counselor Leary.
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
8-0, motion passes.
Yay. Full speed ahead.
Thank you very much for your time. Give thanks. Have a great holiday.
Thank you all. Our next item is number 341-25, a request to amend special permit number 65-96 to allow a second parking stall in the front setback at 63 Hyde Street. Again, I think that might be from Ms. Berman.
You are correct, Madam Chair. I will go ahead and share my screen again. All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm going to go ahead and here we are. All right, so this is petition 341-25, special permit to construct an additional parking stall within the 25-foot front setback at 63 Hyde Street. So you'll see from the aerial map here, the subject property consists of a 6,542 square foot undersized lot in a multi-residence 1 district within a multi-residence transit overlay district. The lot is improved with a 2.5-story single-family dwelling that was constructed in 1895. The subject property is located just off of Center Street to the northeast of Newton Highlands downtown and just 1 block north of the Newton Highlands Green Line T-stop. And the abutting mixed-use districts to the south, the MR1 district is an abutting mixed-use district to the south, and a single residence 2 district is to the north. And the immediate surrounding neighborhood is primarily residential with single and two-family dwellings. Again, the relief requested is to amend an existing special permit 65-96 to construct an additional parking stall within the front setback. And criteria when reviewing this proposal, that the specific site is an appropriate location to amend the special permit and allow for an additional parking stall in the front setback, that the addition of a parking stall within the front setback as developed and operated will not adversely affect the neighborhood, that there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians created by the addition of this parking stall within the front setback, and that access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved with the creation of an additional parking stall in the front setback. And that literal compliance with the maximum number of surface parking stalls in the front setback is impracticable due to the nature of the use or the location, size, width, depth, shape, or grade of the lot, or that such exceptions would be in the public interest, the interest of safety, or the protection of environmental features. Some of planning's comments include that the petitioner's proposal does allow for a dimensionally compliant parking stall within the front setback with an oversized depth of 25.7 feet. If approved, the site will include parking for 2 surface stalls within the front setback. The existing conditions of the lot as well render additional parking elsewhere on the site impracticable due to the reduced lot size and also significant elevation changes in topography at the rear of the lot, as well as the existing dwelling size and position on the lot. And finally, also to note that Hyde Street does provide direct pedestrian access to the Newton Highlands Green Line and to the MBTA bus stop at the corner of Hyde Street and Center Street. And so planning does recommend consideration for visibility and safety for pedestrians and vehicles entry and egress across the site and points of access for public transit. That concludes planning's presentation, and I'll turn it back over to you, the council.
Thank you. Now we can hear from the petitioner. I'm assuming you're Mr. Zhao?
Yes, actually, I am Mr. Zhang,
Ah,
Chenyu Zhang. Yeah. But my wife now is sitting
we're
right.
going to make sure your microphone is on. And are you
Yep.
able to
Yep.
share the screen?
Yes, I will share this.
Okay, thank you. So again, just give us your name and address and tell us everything else we need to know about this petition.
Yep. My name is Chenyu Zhang. Good evening, Madam Chair and the committee. And let me go ahead and share.
There has been a request for you to try and speak right into the microphone so we can all hear you, and that also gets recorded that way too. Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you.
So here is the proposed site plan for our project. And what we're planning is, as we can see on the right side of the house, we're planning to excavate and remove this staircase and replace it with a new parking stall. And this parking stall will be in a dimension of 10 feet wide and 25.7 feet long. And to replace this staircase, we're also proposing to add another small staircase on the left side as the primary entrance. So we will go from here up to the house. And that's basically it.
Okay. You're planning to just park 1 car in this new parking spot, in this 25-foot long,
Correct.
almost 26-foot long parking spot? Okay, and now, of course, there's a new curb cut.
Yes, there will be a new curb cut.
Yep. All right, thanks. Just wanted to be sure. I appreciate it. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak, comment, or ask questions? Yes, come to the microphone. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Janet Lowenstein. I live at 57 Hyde Street. We are the immediate abutter to the north. And I'm here to say that I and many of our neighbors also support this project fully. The previous owner of this house lived there for in excess of 50 years, raised her children, and passed away this past year. And it is nice to have new neighbors. We'd like to keep them.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming, sitting on this hard bench for so long to say something positive about the project. I don't see anyone on Zoom. So we'll take this into the committee. Counselor Lobovitz.
I just have a question. Will the back of the driveway require a retaining wall? I'm not sure the topography there.
Yes, it will require the retaining wall, and the max height of the retaining wall will be about 3.3 feet.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are you asking about,
Feel free to just come closer to the microphone.
are you asking for the backside of the driveway? That will be our foundation and there will be no retaining wall. And the retaining wall will only be on both sides of the driveway.
So it's just going to be a natural graded slope
Yeah.
at the rear.
Yeah,
Oh, the side of the driveway, is that what you just said?
both side of the driveway.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Counselor Lobovitz? Counselor Farrell?
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. The material that was used for the walls, will that match the existing wall, the stonework that is there? I think that's really impressive and is obviously important to the architecture of the house. And I hope that, well, I'd like to know if you're going to continue to use that rock formation for the walls.
Yes, that is our plan. And that is one of the reasons we bought the house, because we love that rock formation so much.
Thank you.
Any other, Counselor Leary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask my usual question. Would you consider pervious material for the driveway to reduce stormwater runoff?
We could. Yeah, but that's definitely an option that we can discuss in the future. Yeah.
Or you could just do partial, or, I know it's
Yes.
more expensive than just black asphalt, but
Yes.
these days with stormwater issues, we want to be able to reduce as much as possible impervious surfaces. So whenever something comes before us, I always like to ask if you would consider that, because it does make a difference, and I think it's much more attractive as well.
Definitely. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Lucas, followed by President Laredo.
Thank you, Chair. I'm okay with the second parking stall. I'm over here.
Oh, thank you. That's all.
Yeah, I'm okay with the second parking stall. I mean, it's what you need. I just have a couple questions. My first one is for planning. I'm a little unclear on parking in the front setback after all these years. Are they, and for the SR zone, are they allowed to park one car in the front setback without requesting relief at all?
I believe that's correct.
And this one would need relief simply because it is not 19 feet in depth, correct?
So this particular petition requires relief because they're asking for an additional parking stall in the front setback. The other parking stall that was existing on site actually received relief as well, because it didn't meet the 9 by 19 dimension, and it was within the 5-foot setback to the street. So both essentially required relief, but for different reasons.
Yes. Okay. Thanks. So they can park one car in the front setback as long as it's 19 by 9, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know why I always seem to forget that. But this is 25 feet deep. That gives whoever's driving the car enough time and space to be alert of any pedestrians or cyclists going by. My main concern with this is there's a large tree right next to the proposed driveway. And what is your intent to do with the tree?
So we actually had a certified arborist coming over to take a look at it. And he recommend probably to remove it the best way. And if to remove it, we would replace that tree with a couple of smaller trees on the front.
Okay, I mean, we heard from your neighbor, and she says she's okay with it. I mean, the tree is, I'm of the opinion the tree is, I assume to, help the aesthetics of the neighborhood. I mean, who doesn't want to live on a street with trees lined up all down it? So if you can save the tree, by all means, that's my preference. Um, but I do want the second driveway. I want you and your family to be happy with it. But please be careful when you're installing that new driveway, and hopefully you can save that large tree because it's really important. Okay.
Yep, thank you. We
All
appreciate
right.
the input.
Thank you. All set, Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Lucas. President Laredo.
So I think this is a fine project. I'm certainly ready to vote approval, and I would absolutely not require them to have impervious surface here. I got to tell you folks, philosophically, the idea that we're going to tell a homeowner who's coming in to do a simple project and improvement that they have to spend a considerable amount of extra money for a 19 by 25 space, and then they have considerable maintenance involved with that, I think is an unbelievable overreach on our part as a city council, and exactly the type of things that our residents really don't like about special permits. I'd feel very differently if this was a large commercial space. I'd feel very differently if this was some developer, building a 6 and 8 or 10 unit building. But this is a single homeowner, and the idea that we're going to tell this person to go spend $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 more when we can't even define impervious surface well, I would be adamantly opposed to that. So I really hope we'll just approve this. We'll approve it without any conditions. Obviously, if the homeowner wants to put impervious surface, that's preferable. That's always nice, but we should not be requiring it. Thank you.
Thank you, President Laredo. I didn't hear, I'm going to talk first because you.
I haven't talked yet.
I see your
Chair.
hand up. I see another
Okay,
hand up.
sorry.
I'm just going to interject myself here to say I didn't
That's
hear
fine.
Councillor Leary's suggestion as a required condition. It was a suggestion. I would be happy to talk with you outside the meeting about ways of possibly doing this without a requirement, but you sounded open to it. Councillor Block.
Thank you, Chair.
I'll come back to you after others have had, I see them. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Block.
I noted in the planning department's presentation a reference to the proximity of the Newton Highlands Green Line station. And of course, we want to encourage people to take public transit. And we increasingly are trying to discourage car use. So it is a little puzzling why we so easily approve second parking spaces. But in the interest of deferring to homeowners' desire to have a second car, I will support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Block. Councillor Labovitz.
Just have a question. I mean, there's a lot of children, I think, that go, a lot of pedestrians in general go down that sidewalk, and particularly children. I understand there's a 5-foot requirement between the end of the driveway and the street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. But there's no requirement. So a car can be right at the edge of the sidewalk. And I'm just concerned, which would be okay in this case. I'm just concerned about visibility of pedestrians as a car in the new requested space backs out. Is there any concern about that, or should I not be concerned? If somebody could illuminate this, or
Ms. Berman, do you want to address that? It is a concern of mine as well, and it's something I'm going to speak to when I have a full turn on it. But Ms. Berman, do you want to address Councillor Labovitz's question about concern for safety of pedestrians, particularly children? And also, as I look at this plan, I see the term concrete sidewalk, but I don't actually see the extent of that. Are there sidewalks on both sides of this street? You probably know. Yes.
There are, yes.
Okay. So there's a sidewalk extending, say, 4 or 5 feet into the street beyond the edge of this driveway that we're looking at, which is then 25 feet. So there's 30 feet. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Councilor Lebovitz? Just that? Just about the backing up of parking question?
Yes, did you just address that, or I wasn't sure if you were addressing
I
that?
think Ms. Berman I had asked Ms. Berman to.
Okay,
I was asking if there was a sidewalk there too, as part of that. Ms. Berman, do you have anything else to add?
I would defer to the petitioner to speak to the efforts that they'll be making to ensure visibility for vehicles entering and exiting the driveway. But it is important to note that other properties that are abutting also have parking within the front setback. And this is again due to the placement of the homes and the topography of the lot surrounding, making parking elsewhere on site not possible. So I think in terms of safety and taking that into account, I would ask the petitioner what measures they are taking in terms of making sure that they have adequate visibility when going in and out of the parking stall to ensure that they're, being cautious of pedestrians that are traversing the sidewalk.
Sure. So if I may weigh in, so our car does have a backup camera, and also we could install motion sensor lights on the car or on the wall. That way it helps us to detect if there are any people crossing by at the time when we are exiting. So I hope those will remedy some of the concerns.
Thank you. Councilor Downs?
Thank you, Chair. So my concern is that this is a very walkable neighborhood with a lot of people walking on Hyde Street, walking into the village center, walking to the T, walking to some of the new housing on Beacon Street, walking to the school, walking to the library. I mean, this is an extremely walkable neighborhood, and that's one of its appeals. Adding parking adds further traffic on the second curb cut, not happy with. Adding parking in a walkable neighborhood ensures more driving. And on those principles, I'm going to vote this down, although I understand it probably will pass, and I understand that the neighborhood probably is fine with it in concept. But if we're serious about reducing vehicle miles traveled, we cannot just be adding parking into our most transit-rich neighborhoods and our destination-rich neighborhoods like this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Downs. While we're still in committee, I see we have another hand from another councilor, but while we're in committee, I would like to follow up on some of those comments. Do you know what kind of tree that is that your arborist told you should be removed?
It is a pine tree.
Do you know what kind of pine? Did he identify it for you? Some kind of pine.
Some kind of pine.
But he wanted it removed because he does not think it's in good condition? Or why was he recommending you remove that tree?
Usually that type of pine, he mentioned that the root is about 1.5 times the size of the crown or the canopy. So it's way spread out.
And the reason he wants you to take it down is?
So that we can start digging under the staircase, and because if we do keep the tree there and the project starts, it will harm the root system of the tree, and the tree will eventually die. So
It looks to me like you might harm a quarter to a third of the root system of that tree. So that's something, and I see that Councilor Maliki will probably speak to this too. That's one of my concerns. And then you said you would like to replace that. If it's truly a 12-inch caliper tree, they'll tell you how much you have to replace of that. And you were thinking of doing that within the wall of the front yard? Or where were you thinking of putting those replacement trees?
at the front wall.
He told us like we can replace a couple tree by the side of the retaining wall. Line over here, But probably we can only replace couple of like 4 to 5 of the 3-inch tree. We can replace like for the whole.
I'm asking this because it relates to the visibility and safety thing we're talking about of people backing out of the driveway. The type of tree you plant there it would probably need to be a single stem main trunk and something you could see through. That's just something to be thinking about. I too generally don't like, the reason we have ordinances against parking in the front setback are things like safety of pedestrians, another curb cut. It's another area of possible overlap between a vehicle and a human being, whether walking or on a bike or a stroller or a scooter. So I think the visibility is an issue. I do have questions about that tree. I'm glad there's a sidewalk there. I'm not quite set on how I would vote on this. I see why you need it, and I see why the other one was approved, and your house is also up high. Like there would really be nowhere else to put a car. We're done with the public. Sorry, you keep raising your hand. If I let her come back up and speak again, she could speak into the mic. Normally, everyone from the public does speak once, but I will let you speak again if you have an answer to this. I just wanted to outline some of my concerns about this project. And then I'm going to also, after you speak quickly to the tree issue, I'm going to go to Councilor Maliki.
I completely understand your issues about the tree. It has a very large branch circumference, and I think it actually interferes more with the visibility than new smaller trees planted in that area would. It's a large evergreen tree of some sort. It's also missing its top.
Maybe it's not a pine then.
It's some sort of evergreen. I'm not.
That's different.
Much, but 15 feet away is an enormous fir tree on my property that sort of would cover, it would act as a barrier between the two houses as it does now. And I think in addition to undercutting the root system with the new retaining wall, I think that it actually interferes with visibility as far as coming in and out of that new parking bay.
So it may not be a pine. Typically, an arborist wouldn't recommend taking the tree down. It would recommend protecting the roots and protecting the tree. That's why I thought maybe it's sick also. But let's hear from Councilor Maliki.
Thanks. And yes, I'm sure the arborist is concerned about the root cutting on that side of the tree in order to put in the driveway and the retaining wall. The diagram I'm looking at, it appears to be a 32-inch diameter trunk, not a 12-inch. Am I looking at the right tree?
I'm looking at the plan we have in front of us here, and it looks like the tree closest to the marking says 12-inch. So I don't know. There must be an official document that shows this tree. And you probably have some written analysis by your arborist, which would be helpful. But go ahead, Councilor Maliki.
Yeah, so the only tree permit I could see had to do with a hazardous tree in the backyard. And if it's the same arborist, he clearly is familiar with the tree preservation ordinance. So I just wanted to make sure the applicants are aware that this is a construction related tree removal if it's removed. And if it's a 12-inch tree, they would be replacing need to replace 12 diameter inches or pay into the tree fund $4,440. If it's a 32-inch tree, is what it appeared to be on my the diagram I'm looking at, that would be a significant tree category, would be 1.5 times the diameter inches, or 48 inches of replacement required, or a much larger payment, let's see, $12,640, or some combination of planting on site and dollars. So I would advise that they get a firm sort of evaluation by the arborist whether that tree can safely stay or not, because the risk is that if you cut the roots on one side, that it could topple onto their yard or it could topple onto the neighbor's yard. And you really need to know what you're going to do with that tree, keep it or remove it, and what the financial implications are. And on the subject of, I noticed talking about backing out, I'm glad nobody mentioned convex mirrors as a way to help you back out, because I recently learned from the traffic people that those have gone out of favor. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maliki. Councillor Lucas?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the size of the tree, just because I'm now seeing 3 different sizes. Chair, you said you're seeing 12. I think Councillor Maliki said 32. I'm looking at 36. I'm looking at the site plan that's in NewGov, which is different than what you have up on the screen right there, which is 32. So I don't know what the dimensions of the tree are. If you do take it down, the tree warden needs to approve it, and they will know what the proper size is. So just it's a little unclear. And just as far as cars backing out, because I back out of my driveway too. Newer cars, as we all know, have the cameras right underneath the trunk, so you can see it on the screen in the computer. Or you could always do Plan B, back into your driveway. But that's all.
Okay, those are all the comments from committee. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Leary, I'm so sorry. I had you once before.
I feel like I'm invisible.
You have it up
sometimes.
again, you mean?
First of all, I'm confused about why there's so much confusion about the size of the tree. You had an arborist out there. Is there not, did they not give a dimension? Why is it 12, 32, or 36? Do you know the size of the tree?
It's a 32. So I don't know where the 12 comes from, but at the beginning, the land surveyor gives us a 36. And after that, we asked the arborist came here and he had a measurement, it's 32. So I asked our land surveyor to correct that into that number. But of course, if we need to apply for the permit, we will have the arborist come and fill the form and have the correct measurement of that.
Okay, and you know that there is a cost for the replacement of the tree. You're aware of that? and
Yeah,
everything?
yeah, I will.
Okay.
Which might be $13,000.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted to do some planting and also pay the resting fine. I mean, because the problem is, even though there's a green line right next to us, she works at Waltham, which is unreachable by T. It takes 2 hours to 2.5. I work in South Boston, which takes 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And without a car, we can't go there, or it's going to take immense amount of time.
But you purchased a home with 1 parking spot.
It's because we love this home so much.
Right.
We love most of it.
I love this home too.
Yeah, but not everything is perfect. So, yeah.
Correct. Sorry, Councillor Leary, I had thought earlier that I had answered your question when your hand was up about the pervious. So is that you were wanting to speak again, though?
Yes, but I'll wait because not everybody's here. Now they are.
Okay, please go ahead so we can move.
I just wanted to raise President Laredo's rather aggressive reaction to my concern about pervious surfaces. And I was a little surprised, as we've been talking about that this whole session. My colleagues here often have spoken of it as well. And we had a couple on Chase Street that we did require it, and believe you voted for it. And they actually came back and said they couldn't find the material, the pavers, and we talked about materials. And we still required that they do pervious surfaces. And we've had multiple times had that discussion. So one thing I have to say, we should be consistent in this committee about what we care about. And I also want to be clear, I was suggesting that because here at Land Use, that's often what we do, and to raise awareness about these issues. So I've kind of felt attacked a little bit because Counselor Farrell's raised it, Counselor Lobovitz raised it, and I haven't heard any comments from you all year about all the burdensome requirements that we might be putting on our homeowners, which I'm quite aware of. And I believe that, that making suggestions about stormwater issues or pervious surfaces is entirely reasonable as a member of this committee.
May I respond, Madam?
Well,
I'll
if
be
you
brief.
must.
Certainly, do not want to suggest that that anyone is acting other than with good motives, but I do think we have to be very careful in this committee if we couch a suggestion that a resident does not take that, even if not a requirement in order, imply that that is expected. And I will add that I actually have watched us this term with things like impervious surfaces, and I was not okay with the fact that the homeowner on Chase had to spend a considerable amount more money, in part because we don't have a good definition of what an impervious surface is. And we have used that term, I think collectively we have not been good about clearly defining that. And I think, at least to me, once it became apparent that this was going to be a very significant additional cost to anyone doing it, I personally do not think it is good policy for us to be even expecting a homeowner such as this one to have to do that kind of work.
Okay,
But I would agree with you, Counselor Leary, it's something that we need to be consistent on. That's very important. I certainly hope next term the council grapples with that issue and tries to come up with some consistent standards.
That
Sounds like you've changed your mind.
Where I'm going to close off the pervious surface conversation for the night. We're done talking about it, but for everyone
your mind.
all the many people who watch the land use committee meetings on Zoom, this is a topic the land use committee is going to be looking into next term, along with the planning department and some other consultants. So we'll have better guidance. I don't think there's anything wrong in us recommending that people be thinking about this type of environmental solution though. So are there any other comments on this project? Councilor Lobovitz.
So can we add any condition that will increase our the likelihood, the safety issue in terms of backing up? The petitioners suggested installing some device that would, we can't assume that their car has whatever, whatever would be best to avoid such a thing. So I'm just asking a question.
Ms. Berman, has the planning department ever looked into recommended mechanisms for improving backup safety? And I agree with Councilor Lobovitz. We cannot assume that everyone is driving a car that is equipped with these backup cameras and lights. You may have a guest come over who's in an old car that doesn't have one. Is there anything that you have seen that has been recommended or part of a condition relating to this before, or even Ms. Wewell, are you aware of something like that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm remembering a few projects. However, these were multifamily projects that I'm remembering that had some sort of signal that somebody was coming out, or we have conditioned convex mirrors on the recommendation of the Department of Public Works. I'm not sure if those recommendations have changed. I'm not sure there's a solution that we've conditioned on multifamily projects that would be appropriate in this single residence zone, if that makes sense. Something like a blinking light or a sound signal. I think I just encourage the committee to be sensitive to that as well.
Yeah, I, for one, wouldn't be comfortable making recommendations for them to have to install any of these things. I'm concerned about the removal of that tree. I'm concerned about what trees you might replace. I think overall, I will probably just vote against it because I don't want to put conditions on it that you're not able to meet. Are there any other comments? Because I think we're ready to vote on this. Any other comments from anyone on the committee? This is Ward 6.
Move to close the public hearing.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That's everyone.
I move to approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve. We'll look at the conditions that will not include anything about pervious surface or mechanisms to improve backup safety.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and share my screen, the draft approval. So again, this is an amendment to special permit 65-96 to allow construction of an additional parking stall within the front setback. The findings here, we have that the specific site is an appropriate location for the additional parking stall within the front setback, as the proposed stall will allow for improved vehicular use of the site with a dimensionally compliant parking stall. The proposed additional parking stall in the front setback, as developed and operated, will not adversely affect the neighborhood because the proposed stall includes an oversized depth to allow for greater separation of a parked vehicle from the front lot line. Item 3, that there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians created by the creation of an additional parking stall in the front setback, as the proposed stall will not block the sidewalk. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and number of vehicles involved. With the creation of the additional parking stall in the front setback, as the parking stall will not encroach into the 5-foot minimum setback to the street. And finally, that literal compliance with the maximum number of parking stalls in the front setback is impracticable due to the reduced size of the lot, topographical limitations, and the location of the primary dwelling, such that parking could not be located elsewhere on the lot. As we scroll down here, I'll just pause for a moment. We have the petitioner and owner, the location, and the address of owner. Again, the use will remain as a single-family dwelling, and the relief granted will be to amend the special permit and also here the relief that was granted under that special permit. This restating exactly that it's an amendment and that the prior relief still stands. And here we have the standard plan referencing condition for the site plan. We have under item 2, the standard building permit condition. And then finally, under item 3, we have the certificate of occupancy and final inspection condition. We'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn it back
Thank
over.
you. Thank you very much. We're ready to vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
No.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
No.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
6-2, motion passes.
There you go. And then it will come to the full council next. But that's definitely a vote in favor from the Land Use Committee. So thank you. Okay, our last item for the night is number 143-25, which is a request to allow non-accessory parking, associated dimensional waivers relative to surface parking lots, and to allow a retaining wall exceeding 4 feet in height at 56 Chapel Street. On this one, we'll hear from the petitioner's attorney first. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Land Use Committee. For the record, my name is Catherine Braucher Adams, and I'm an attorney with Schlesinger and Bookbinder in Newton. May I share my screen?
Yes.
Joining us this evening in the chamber is Doug Avola, who's the Director of Construction for Property Management at Chaparral Bridge Park. And we're also joined virtually by Civil Engineer Matthew Broussard, Property Manager Steve Rizzuto, and Robert Slager, President of Bullfinch. We last appeared before you in April with a proposal to improve a vacant lot at 56 Chapel Street by creating 19 parking spaces and new open space. Following the committee's guidance, we've since broadened the project scope to include coordinated improvements to the applicant's other lots on Chapel Street. We're pleased to present a comprehensive revised plan for all of the Chapel Street parcels. As a refresher, 56 Chapel is a 9,477 square foot lot in the MR1 district. Chapel Bridge affiliates now own 8 of the 9 parcels opposite the Chapel Bridge complex, as are outlined on the slide. 7 are currently in use for parking. 1 parcel contains a residential home, and 56 Chapel is the subject of this petition. Our goal is to align this lot with the others by adding parking and creating green space, as well as replacing the deteriorating rear retaining wall. Our revised plan for 56 Chapel remains largely consistent with the plan that we presented in May for the site. We're providing 19 parking stalls along Chapel Street and approximately 2,300 square feet of green space at the rear. We've enhanced the landscape plan with this version, adding perennial plantings, including eastern blue star and cornflowers. At the committee's suggestion, we've incorporated permeable pervious pavers throughout the site. Just this week, a neighbor suggested that we add some benches near the pollinator garden, which you can also see at the top of the plan, and we're happy to accommodate that suggestion as well. We showed you this slide in May, but a major site upgrade continues to be the full replacement of the aging rear retaining wall. The current wall is constructed from recycled telephone poles many years ago and is deteriorated and unattractive. We're going to replace it, as we propose, with a large format concrete wall. This particular improvement has been widely welcomed by abutters, and there's a strong neighborhood consensus that improving the wall will improve the area. In fact, this petition enjoys quite a bit of neighborhood support, which is strong and, in my experience, quite unique. The committee, I believe, has received 4 letters of support, 5 as of this evening, and 22 nearby neighbors have signed a petition in favor of the project over the past couple days, which we distributed at the beginning of this hearing. The slide before you maps the location of those supporters with the petition signers who also submitted a letter highlighted in red. The site is in blue, as well as the surrounding parcels. The applicant's history in this neighborhood is an important part of this supportive response, as many of the neighbors have known the property owners for decades, have been experienced firsthand that they maintain their sites, respond to concerns, and consistently invest in the area. Turning to lots A and B, the revised plans that we submitted included the planting of 16 new street trees along Chapel Street, which was a suggestion by the committee in May, as well as adding pollinator gardens in the rear corners of Lot A, here and here. In fact, this weekend, 23 trees, not 16, were planted on the 2 sites, Lot A and Lot B. Due to availability constraints, locust trees were installed in the place of serviceberries. We have an updated landscape plan, which we can submit for the record, but it changes nothing on 56 Chapel, which is the subject of the petition. These improvements were made voluntarily by the applicant at its own expense and before any vote on this petition. They were not offered as conditions or bargaining points. They were simply undertaken because the applicant believes in being a good neighbor and contributing to the streetscape. The applicant has also completed the installation of 10 new EV charging stations on Lot A. In addition, 5 large evergreen trees, which were not shown on the original plan, were added to screen the site's transformer. Once commissioned, these 10 EV spaces will be open to the public 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're shown here on this plan. In considering whether the applicant needs 19 additional parking spaces at 56 Chapel, which was an issue that came up at the last hearing, we would ask the committee to recognize that Lot A effectively lost 11 parking spaces, 10 that are now EV spaces, and 1 displaced by the transformer. Similarly, the applicant also just completed the installation of an additional 12 EV parking spaces over at its Bridge Street facility, resulting in a net reduction of 23 private spaces across the campus. All of these EV stations will be open to the public all the time. The applicant views these spaces as an investment in public benefit and in reducing fossil fuel reliance. We believe that this proposal offers meaningful benefits to the neighborhood and aligns with the city's goals for sustainability and thoughtful site stewardship. We've addressed the committee's suggestions on pavement materials. We've made improvements to the other Chapel Street lots that are in line with what we're proposing for 56, including pollinator gardens and street trees. And we went above and beyond what would be required by installing EV chargers on the adjacent sites. I have one more slide. A first for me, it's a video showing the new trees and the EV charging stations. And it gives you a good context of the site and its relationship to the other parking lots. So with that, I conclude my presentation. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. It also looks full of cars. Let's hear from the planning department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Kat Kemet from Planning. I'll pull up the presentation now. So this is petition 143-25 for 56 Chapel Street. This is a special permit request to allow a non-accessory surface parking lot. This is the second meeting for this item, which was initially opened earlier this year in May. As a quick refresher, the property is 9,480 square feet. There was previously a single-family home on the site, which was demolished earlier this year. This area has residential uses, several large parking lots that we heard a little bit about earlier, and the Chapel Bridge Park campus across the street. The petitioner is seeking to construct a 19-stall surface parking lot to serve the tenants of the offices across the street, the commercial building there at 4955 Chapel. The project needs relief to allow a surface parking facility associated with a manufacturing use in a residential district, and to allow portions of the parking facility to be more than 150 feet from the boundary of the manufacturing district. It also needs relief to waive perimeter screening requirements and to waive lighting requirements. This item also needed to be re-advertised to reflect one element of new relief, which is to create a new retaining wall exceeding 4 feet. When reviewing this request, the council should consider the 4 standard criteria, which are listed here and were in the packet that went out. We also have the criteria here for retaining walls over 4 feet in height, which is that the lot presents challenging topography, which limits the use of the site without having a retaining wall over 4 feet in height. The proposed retaining wall will not adversely impact adjacent property, the neighborhood, or the public. And the proposed retaining wall over 4 feet in height is the minimum structure required to allow a subject property to be reasonably utilized. In terms of updates, the petitioner has provided a revised site plan at our request. Once we got that, we needed to renotice the item to reflect the need for relief for a retaining wall over 4 feet. A small section of the existing wall that is on the site now at the left rear will be retained. That section reaches a maximum height of 9.8 feet, but most of that wall will be removed except for that small portion. A new wall will be created along the rear and a little bit of the rear right side of the property, and that will reach a maximum height of 9.5 feet. Engineering has reviewed the plans for the new retaining wall, and they noted no major concerns. If this petition is approved, engineering will review again prior to a building permit being issued. The petitioner has also provided a revised landscaping plan, which it sounds like is outdated now, which includes several additional plantings along the frontage on the adjacent parking lot and the parking lot on the other side of the house at 50 Chapel Street, in addition to a pollinator garden and some other plantings. And I'm happy to bring up any plans or materials submitted at the committee's request. Thank you.
Thank you. Just following up on what you just said, you're happy to provide anything else, whether it's you or perhaps the petitioner. Can you show us that 9.5 foot high retaining wall so we can see what that looks like from one perspective? It just sounds very tall. And what's it made out of it? What does it look like? How does it present?
Sure. So what's there today is on the left of the screen, and it is truly constructed out of recycled telephone poles. So what we're proposing to do is on the right, those are precedent images, not a rendering of what we're going to do, but it would be concrete blocks.
You're not replacing the wall, you're just putting this wall in front of the timber railroad tie wall?
Nope, we're taking most of the wall down, in fact. There's a small portion of it that remains, but most of it is going to be replaced. And in fact, that's why we had to re-advertise, because we're pulling the wall into the site slightly in doing that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm glad we have a vision of that. Let's see if there are any members of the public who would like to make comments or provide any testimony. Anyone? Terry Sorrow?
Let me see if I can unmute.
You are
Hi,
on
Terry.
mute.
Sorry, Terry Sarro, 44 Cook Street. I am in total support of hoping this committee passes this. It's impeccable the way he keeps his grounds, and he's so to the neighborhood, and it's nice to walk down the street, see open space. Yes, there's cars there, but there's trees. It's lovely, and I totally support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sorrow. P. Farolito?
Hi, my name's Paul Ferralito. I live at 4345 Dalby Street. I'm direct abutter, and I'm calling in to support this project.
Thank you. Very concise. Anyone else? We'll hear, oh, yes, come up to the microphone. Ms. Adams, can you let her speak?
We own property at
Could you just give us your name and address?
Negrati. I live at West Newton, but I own property on Dalby Street, 41. That wall is right in our backyard. So I'm very happy that they're doing this. It's going to make a big improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public? Okay, we'll take it into committee. Councilor Leary.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So the concern with myself, and I know the ward councilor here, and I believe others, and I believe the planning department also, was the vast amount of parking that's available to this building and project, and both on Chapel Street and Bridge Street. In fact, the planning department did not recommend this project when it first came before us for that very reason. This Nonantum, this area is a huge heat island. It's all paved. And it's easy to just look at Google Maps and see that. And the reason that I'm concerned about this, what was going to be 3 units of housing to become an additional parking lot in an area where literally the Bridge Street side, they're vacant. There's all these empty, it's just underutilized parking. So the idea of putting in more parking, never mind that it erased units of housing that we badly need, was just something that was very difficult to understand. So we actually, and I'm speaking for the ward councilor and myself, had suggested to the applicant that they make this a green space, a park for both the public, the neighbors, and employees to enjoy. And also do the retaining wall. I understand that's important. I'd like to see that get done. The neighbors want to see that get done as well. And I think when you're signing up, when you're getting signatures on this piece of paper, I don't think you're suggesting to them that it could be a green space as well. And the folks that I have spoken to about the thoughts of about making it into something other than parking, that appealed to them very much. What people want is the retaining wall done, and I get that. So as a matter of fact, how many, maybe the planning department or the applicant knows how many parking spaces between Bridge Street, Silver Lake, and Chapel Street are there at this location that's under the ownership of this applicant? Do we know that? Does the planning department know that?
Hi, Counselor. This is Kat Kemet. I do not have the total of all the different lots combined, unfortunately.
Ms.
Several
Adams,
hundred at least, I would estimate.
you would estimate what?
Several hundred,
Several
all
hundred?
combined.
The applicant, probably knows it, right?
Yes,
How many are there?
669.
669 parking spaces. I figured that was a little of an underestimate. So it's just sort of inexplicable to me that you need more parking. And you must really want it because you're definitely going to a lot of trouble. And you have greened it up. You've put in EV charging stations, you've put in new trees, and you're really focused on this. I'm really not sure I can still vote for this. I want the law, I want the wall done, absolutely. I don't want that to be vacant and fenced like it is now. We got to do something. I'm just surprised at how badly you want this parking and you're willing to, make all these improvements to it. Although I did go, Ms. Adams, I appreciated your phone call the other day, and I did go by and look at the property, and I did see the new plantings. But however, you didn't go through the tree warden at all or anything. This is something that was done on your own, and I was a little concerned about the trees in such a very narrow area, and like some urban trees, it's just less than not ideal for the growth of those trees. That was one of my immediate concerns when I went over there and walked the space. I'm very happy that you have, when we talked about the charging stations, and I asked that question whether they would be available to the public. I'm happily surprised that they'd be 24/7. I thought they would just be after 5 o'clock. No, so that's definitely a benefit. So those are really my concerns. I can't quite stomach another parking lot, the loss of the residents, loss of green space, in order to add to the 600 plus parking spaces you currently have on site, which I know several hundred of them are not used. That's all my comment.
Thank you, Councillor Leary. I have within the committee, Councillor Block and Lucas next, but I'm going to ask the two of you if you would let me call on Councillor Oliver next, because he's from the ward and I think it might be helpful for him to follow Leary. Yes, is that okay with you, Councillor Block? Councillor Oliver.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I concur with my Ward 1 colleagues when we talk about the neighborhood here. We have 669 existing parking spaces available to the tenants of this property today. Every single time I walk by that lot, and I've walked by quite a few times more recently since this has been on the docket, I've been taking photos. At least half of those massive parking lots behind the building, which were conveniently not shown to you tonight by the petitioner, are empty. I have taken photos at different times of day, different days of the week. They're empty. We do not need more parking in this neighborhood. As a matter of fact, when the special permit that was approved for this property prior to the purchase by this petitioner, they had already identified that they were replacing the retaining wall. So the retaining walls, in my opinion, is a given here. The problem is this entire area is one of the biggest heat islands in the city. We don't need more parking here. What we needed was to treat this residential lot like it was residential. I certainly hope we're not of the opinion, given the items I've heard tonight and many, many others, all of a sudden in favor of increasing street parking. Sorry, not street parking, off-street parking lots like this in a residential neighborhood, this is not the right use. That's why it's not zoned for this particular use. I certainly hope all of my colleagues will remain the folks that I've heard speaking tonight and reject this special permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Oliver. Now we'll go back to Counselor Block. Thank you for giving up your moment.
No problem, Chair. Thank you. I want to support what Counselor Leary stated to us earlier. I thought Counselor Leary went one by one over all of the issues that are before us. One aspect of this, which she mentioned only a little bit, was the initial special permit was to allow the demolition of a residence so that 3 other residences could be built. And I have to say that for this to turn itself from 3 more houses, which I think we all thought was a positive contribution to the neighborhood, in favor of a parking lot, boy, that's a real stretch, and I can't bring myself to support it. I appreciate all the positive steps that the current owner has made in terms of EV stations and landscaping. It just does not feel right. So that's how I'm going to vote tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Block. Counselor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. I wholeheartedly agree with my colleagues from Ward 1, Councilors Leary and Oliver. I have a hard time supporting this when we already have 669 surface off-street parking stalls in this area. And as Council Oliver said, when he walks by, they are, mostly empty. So I have a hard time supporting more surface parking stalls in this area right here. So if there is a motion to approve, which I don't think there will be, I will vote no. Thank you.
Even if there's a motion to approve, we can still vote no. Counselor Lobovitz.
I was hoping the petitioner would respond to the question about all these empty spaces and why the need for additional spaces. I think that's an important point here.
They are willing to do
Thank you.
that. Go ahead, Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask Doug Avola, who, as I mentioned, is Director of Construction for Property Management at Chapel Bridge Park, because he's intimately acquainted with the parking needs of the facility.
Good evening. My name is Doug Avola. I am the Director of Construction for
Speak into the microphone.
the Chapel Bridge Park Property Management Team. And as it relates to the parking, we do have 669 spaces. However, historically, we have had issue with renting space at Chapel Bridge Park simply because the adjacency of parking spaces to the front of the building versus the back. It's always been a challenge for us. Additionally, currently, we have about a third of the space in the complex is vacant. In addition to that, we have another 33,000 plus square feet that is still under lease, but the tenant has moved and it is vacant as well. So we're approaching 50% vacancy at the moment. And as we are trying to lease that space, one of the concerns is the proximity of the parking spaces to the buildings, particularly as we try to lease spaces that are on Chapel Street versus the Bridge Street side. And from a parking perspective, 669 seem like a lot, but in reality, to a complex that has over 250,000 square feet, our ratio is only about 2.5 per 1,000.
So you're telling us that in order to feel confident that you can lease the space, you need these extra 19 parking spots?
Yes, as a matter of fact, as well as it helps us to actually lease the space when we can provide the tenants parking that's closer to the entrance of the structure.
If I just may add to that, one trend that they've been noticing is that that complex is largely industrial and manufacturing. And as it turns over, it's becoming more office and medical, which has a higher parking requirement.
Thank you. President Laredo.
So this is why we engage in discussion within committee. I was thinking that I would probably be fine with this, but I have a great deal of respect for my Ward 1 colleagues. And when all three of the Ward 1 colleagues are voicing their opposition to something that's in their ward, I try to defer to their judgment. And so because it's a land use matter, and if we vote no on something, we need to state why. I'm stating my reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Farrell.
I also appreciate hearing from the Ward 1 colleagues. And as I understand it, I'm not as familiar with this territory as I am with Ward 8. But anyhow, it is my understanding that there is a lot of conversation and planning that's been going on for about a year about what's going to be happening with all of this area in terms of future housing, manufacturing, whatever it is. But there's been a lot of conversation about that planning, and I would hope that we would be moving towards some conclusion on that before we make any additional concessions for housing at the moment. I'm not going to be voting for this either. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Farrell. Councilor Downs, did you want to weigh in before we move on this? Oh, she's left. Okay, well then I will quickly weigh in. I too will vote no on this for all the reasons that have been stated. I think additional heat island space, additional parking above and beyond 669 spaces in this part of town, the loss of the residential unit that was there and the 3 residential units that could have been there or open space for the public is all a shame. And those are the reasons that I'll be voting against this too. Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to bring up one other point because the Ward 1 councilors have discussed this with the applicant, and some of the things we had requested was would they consider greening up the Bridge Street side, the parking that's less convenient, that's further out. Councilor Greenberg even asked about housing opportunities. So then I was told under no uncertain terms that they weren't going to consider doing anything on Bridge Street or those areas. It would only be on Chapel Street. And you have made some improvements there, but it's just, you know, if you really need that parking, where it's better located, why wouldn't you consider removing parking in another area or having a discussion with the Ward 1 councilors about opportunities for greening up, for reducing the heat island impact, for reducing the amount of surface parking? Even if you decide you need it later, you could always recreate it. You know, and that's why we were thinking just make it green space, a little park, because you may have long-term plans for this. I understand. So I just want to say I'm open to further discussion on this.
Thank you. If I might.
Do you need to add something right now? Okay, go ahead.
Do. My client would be willing to do a little bit of horse trading for the spaces on Chapel because they are proximate to the front door. They are part of the entrance to the building. When they have visitors, they don't want to walk all the way to the Bridge Street lot. So we would like to know whether anyone's opinion would change if we offered to take 18 spaces off of Bridge Street, make that green space in exchange for what we're trying to do on Chapel Street.
Councilor Leary.
My opinion would change. I would definitely rethink it.
To reiterate what President Laredo said, I too it's compelling when all 3 ward councilors agree on something. And that was a tipping point for me. So if they would like to reconsider your horse trade, President Laredo.
Yeah. Look, if the petitioners and the Ward One counselors want to have a discussion and come back to us with a proposal, personally, I'm fine with that. Again, this is a type of project where if the Ward One counselors were on board, I would most likely defer my judgment to theirs, respecting that they're the local counselors. But I would respectfully suggest, if we're gonna do that, we ought to hold this item. We should not start having those kinds of discussions here. But if they are successful, they could be done, I think, expeditiously, and even next week when we have the next council meeting, we could take it up.
As usual, you say 30 seconds before I have the chance to say it, what I was going to say, but yeah, I think we should hold this item. I assume that you will be meeting with the Ward One counselors who will be considering what all of the neighbors and abutters have said, and I would assume that you're going to repair that wall no matter what happens. I hope that you're going to do that. Counselor Leary, do you would like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to keep the public hearing open and to move hold on this item.
All in favor of keeping the public hearing open, please say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. All in favor of keeping this item on hold, please say aye. Aye. That's everyone also. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
in a week or two.
Sounds great. Have a good holiday.
Good night. We're done. We're adjourned, not quite at 9.